breathe rather than do. Nathan sends me ideas for his songs, but I usually just totally trust Nathan with whatever he's doing because he's amazing and we love having him here. And a lot of his song has in my talk here, I'm just like, oh, as I was listening to that, I was like, oh, how fascinating is that? It just works that way. All one mind. It was the same. Jill sent me a message first thing this morning, I think at 6:30, and said, oh, I think we should do this. I was like, oh, I had that same thought. So it all works together. And that's the whole month we've been talking about giant gentleness, that place where we can really expand and grow in our kindness and our gentleness. And really, gentleness is so works together with love so much, right? To be gentle is to love. To love is to be gentle and to be kind. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about kindness as well, because my talk title is Taking It to the Streets. So at the beginning of the month, I talked about being gentle with ourselves. And then we had the lovely Reverend Amanda Pope. Wasn't she great last week, everyone? I have to say, yes, she was so good. I have to say, I was thinking all week, oh, is my peanut butter and jam touching my apple slices at this moment? And I did have a couple moments when she shared about when you're that 5-year-old and they coexist together and touch, and you have manage to have a freak out, but managed to remember to breathe rather than do and react. So it was good. So this week, and she was talking about relationships, the bringing gentleness to others and the relationships. So this week, we're going to talk more about community. How can we bring our gentleness out into the streets and take it from here, this loving, gentle community that we have right here, and expand upon that? Expand upon that and not look at others and with that little bit of judgment that sometimes creeps in. Maybe it's not a little, sometimes I know. It depends if I'm driving. That's sometimes the worst spot where I can find my judgments coming out. But Ernest Holmes says, life is not only where we are, it is what we are. It is in us as well as around us, and its whole impulsion is love. The universe does not rest on the shoulders of love. Love is the real lodestone of life. The real lodestone of life. Well, I have to be honest, I didn't know what lodestone was, so I had to go look it up. And it is a stone, it is that something that attracts, like it's that magnet that draws to it. So the more we think about something, the more we load that love into that stone. It's almost like one of those worry stones, right? If we put all our worries into that stone and then we can leave it aside. But this, imagine that you're carrying around a stone that you're infusing with love all the time. So I just thought that was such a great way to start off, where can we show more love in our life and in our community? So there's a lot going on in the world, maybe in the political realm, maybe in our community, in other countries where wars are happening, and there's these things that are happening that are not great at all. They're challenging for the people in them, and it's challenging for people to watch and do. So what can we do about it? And how do we move from that place of judgment and load up our lodestone with love and move through it? Because there's only love everywhere and anywhere. It is the essence of who we are. Therefore, if the very lives that we live, we have to bring our focus back onto loving through our practices. And when we do our practices, our spiritual practice, whether it's 40 days, you're doing the 40 days of prayer, or you're doing your own meditation, or you're doing a walk in nature, whatever it is for you, that is where you're shining your light, because we're bringing that gentleness, that self-care to ourselves first. And that's the thing, sometimes I think I can get caught up in self-care as being selfish. But really, it's the best thing that I can do for myself, because once I've taken care of myself, again, it's easier to take care of somebody else. I think I said in my last talk, it's like putting that oxygen mask on for, right, when you're in the airplane. You can put, they say to put your oxygen mask on yourself first and then go and help others. So, and it's also remember that when we start to stand against or fight, even when it's a good cause, it's resistance. You know, there's that saying that we're fighting the good fight. But if we start using love as more of our barometer and apply it liberally to every circumstance and situation, through the lens of love, we're going to be open and experience more than we have before. So when we choose love first, whatever the situation is, when we're having that judgment about somebody, when we hear somebody on the news or somebody who has a different political view than we do, or maybe somebody who is misinformed about a situation in regarding racism, and it's easy to snap. It's easy to be on top of somebody. But if we start to look at them as that place of love and understanding and being curious, we can ask a question. I didn't really understand what you said. Can you explain it more to me? So when we can ask those questions and be in that place of curiosity rather than snapping to a judgment, how much will that shift our world and maybe even the people around us? And two, when we're fighting something, that, you know, it brings up that piece of resistance. You know that saying, what we resist persists? Right? So it's moving through that, moving through and letting go sometimes of that resistance. And one of the places I know I can get caught up in resisting, and I do it, and it distracts me throughout the day sometimes, is social media. Right? And I think of our children nowadays. Do you know right now in Ontario, the teachers, my teachers in the room, they are actually suing Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and Twitter for what they're doing to our youth, because it's taking up, brainwashing them. So I don't know the full story, but Tony was reading it, my husband was reading it to me the other day about how they're saying that this has really shifted. You know, my children, they're a little bit older, so they're in that middle generation. But I can still see how much they rely on social media now. But you hear of all the bullying, you hear of all the things that are on social media. And I know even myself, sometimes I'll be looking, I'll be like, oh, I didn't know my brother was out doing that and having that much fun. What the heck? You know? But it's that judgment that I have, or I start comparing. Well, look at so-and-so has so many friends and I only have 5, or whatever it is, you know? And then I'm like, oh, then I start feeling bad. But letting go of that, letting go. Social media is a great tool for a lot of different things. And it also is a distraction for doing the things that we love. I know I can get caught on watching those TikTok videos, do a little dance. I won't do that, no. But, you know, it's entertaining, and it gives you that lift. It gives you that automatic hit. So, okay, I feel good in that moment. But then an hour goes by, and I'm like, oh, I wanted to go paint in my studio. Oh, I was just going to read that book that is due for book club tomorrow night that I haven't started. You know, whatever it is that I'm thinking that means more to me, but I just get sucked. I'm saying me because it happens. I can get sucked into just watching and scrolling through. So it's lovely to be connected to people and support one another, to celebrate successes and milestones. And that's what the social media platforms are grateful for. I mean, I think about it when I was growing up, we didn't have that. So I moved a fair amount when I was young. So I lost contact with a lot of people that I knew. Like, I can remember She was my best friend in grade 6, Sony, but I have no idea where in the world she is now and what she happened. But I still remember those fond memories. We went to the first concert I ever went to together, the Bay City Rollers. SATUR. But right, so social media is great for connecting people that way and being able to find them again and reconnect. I have another friend who he just is reconnected with his best man that he found on social media, and they've started to have a connection together. So I'm not saying that it's all bad, but it's being aware, and it's having gentleness with ourselves, whether and considering whether or not our time on social media is quality time or a waste of time. And we're the only ones that can decide that. You know, that one day that I scrolled through for an hour, maybe I needed that day because that was my way of having a little bit of self-care and downtime. So it's gentleness and showing up and applying that. I love what they say. Our organization puts the themes out for the year. And one thing they said today about social media is social media, if we reference it to our teaching, it is like the law. So the law is what we put our prayer into, that mind, that one mind that we talk about, the law. So what we focus on, we get more of. So sometimes if we're focusing in on social media on some of the negative, that we'll get more negative. If we're focusing in on the positive, you'll notice our feed will start showing more positive. I know my husband was looking at some kind of fancy watch the other day, and he just happened to say it, and sure enough, he went on Facebook like an hour later, and sure enough, there was an ad for that same watch on his feed. But see, it is like the law. What we put out into it, it comes back to us. And two, we'll get lots of opinions on social media. I don't know about you, if you've seen that. There's lots of conversations sometimes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get involved in that. And so it's just remembering to what we put out is staying positive with it. And two, I like this quote from the Buddha. When you move your focus from competition to contribution, life becomes a celebration. Never try to defeat people, just win their hearts. So imagine if we tried to win people's hearts on social media. So taking it to the street so we can look at our political views, our social activism, how we can show up in the world. We can look at our social media. What are we doing there? How can we make shifts? But the third one that I'm thinking about with this, and I think is one of the most important, is community. Right? Community. So our communities are filled with people. There are some that we like, and some maybe that irritate us or, push our buttons when we're around. But as individuals by themselves, they are an expression of the divine. They are an expression of that one mind. They are love expressed in this world. And I just may be judging them as not that way that day. So when I start to look at people with that eyes of love, how does that shift the energy? If I look at the eye through the eyes of the divine, rather than looking at them like, oh, aren't they just irritating to me? Why, if they would just do it this way, it would make me happy. But rather than looking outside of myself, when do I start to look inwards? When do I take that moment and go, okay, in this relationship, maybe in the next relationship, that thing that's annoying me maybe with 3 other people, who's the common denominator? Standing right here in front of you, right? So it's when I look at myself and when I can go, okay, well, that's irritating. So what is the gift in that? What am I learning? And sometimes, it's hard to see the gift right there in the moment. And if somebody came up to me and said, Tamara, you're having this experience and it's a gift, I tell you, my middle finger may go up a little bit, right? Because I don't see it right there in the middle of it, right? Because I'm experiencing it. I'm in what is that saying? I'm in the forest. I can't see the trees because of the forest. Anyways, you guys know what I mean. But when I'm in the thick of things, I don't necessarily see that bigger picture. So when I start to look outside of that and go, okay, maybe there is a gift. I had, and sometimes it doesn't seem like it at all. I had an experience this week where one of my dear friends, she lost her daughter to a tragic accident. She was doing actually the thing Haley did that she loved to do. It is called base jumping. So it is where, I don't know if any of you have watched Tom Cruise movies where he runs off a cliff with a parachute on his back. That's what that is. And she had done 600 jumps. And it was a thing that she just loved, loved, loved to do. And she was in her favorite place to jump in Italy. And unfortunately, her chute didn't open. So for me to say to my friend, there's a gift in it, I don't think she could hear that right now. Yeah, it's not for me to say, right? There's all the grief, there's the things, and I mean, my heart broke just thinking of how they had to get on the plane, fly to Italy to retrieve the body, and to come back. And I have God bumps all over me just thinking about it. But yeah, she died doing something that she loved, which, right, if we're all so lucky to be that way. And she lived a full, rich life for her 41 years. She, took those chances. She took those risks. But now it's up as a community, our friends, to come together and help support the mother and the father. And her sister is my daughter's dear friend as well. So how do we help walk this path, walk this community of life together, and show up in ways that are supportive of it, supportive. I heard a story this morning about in Colorado, there is a retreat center, and it's a working ranch. So everybody that goes there is in support. They actually do all the physical work. It works as a running ranch. They supply all the food for the people coming and maintain everything. So this was started back in the 50s. And then they have lots of different buildings all around that you can stay in. There's the housing, there's the kitchen. They have a room, a transcendence room where you can go and meditate. It's actually its own building. But then up on the hill, they picked it purposefully up on the top of the hill. It's the highest point that they could find. And what it is they built it there because it's showing the highest consciousness for every living soul, for every living being. And I thought that was really amazing that they chose that space. And the best part of the whole story is that they built it themselves. And they were all doing this in the 50s, but they would only build it when everybody in the community who was helping was in that place of consciousness of love and was not holding on to any grudges, worries, concerns, negative thoughts about anybody else. So everything in that building, in that chapel, was done from that place of love, from that place of oneness, that place of there was no dissent, no drama, no anything. So I can imagine the energy in that building would be pretty phenomenal to sit in. So think about that. If we lived in that place, if we started to build whatever we're building in our life from that place of love and not allowing things to be built when it's negative or when we're down about something or, that person just cut me off, gosh darn it all, and that is okay, letting that go. Because again, what we resist persists. Because it's the same thing that happens. You stub your toe in the morning, I resist that. Then the next thing I know, I hit my funny bone, and then I resist that because I'm like, and then I get a pickleball in the back of my head from my husband. We won't talk about that. But, things like that keep happening throughout the day, rather than if I started the morning and went, oh, well, at least I have a toe that can be stubbed. At least I'm walking up. There's so many things I could tell myself. And again, sometimes when I'm in the middle of it, do I always remember to do those things? Nope. I wish I could say, yes, I am perfect. I never get upset. I never react to anything, but I don't. I'm still living this human experience as spirit. And so I show up how I show up certain days. And so we're going from there. So let us be kind in community. Let's gather around our people. I love that our 40 day of prayer is we've got 22 people committed to pray every day for 40 days. How is that going to shift the consciousness? Right? I'm just so excited. And some are meeting to check in on each other to make sure that it's going okay. And we're going to meet as a whole group. But it's just that commitment to each other. Because I was reading another book that I forgot to bring with me on John Randall Price. His book about the prosperity plan. So this is where I came up with the idea of the 40 days for prayer. It is the 40-day prosperity plan, but I just shifted it to, rather than focusing on prosperity and abundance, which we can within the 40 days of prayer, but it's focusing in what is most important to each individual right now. Because when we work on that individual healing, we know that we're going to heal ourselves and we're going to heal people around us. Because I don't know if any of you have experienced it, but when I start to change, I notice my relationships around me change. I'll know that I'll be really upset with my husband. The poor guy gets thrown under the bus all the time. But I'll start to do my prayer work. I'll start to do my meditation. And all of a sudden, yeah, I'm not so angry. And all of a sudden, oh, he brought me flowers. Oh, he made me my coffee this morning. But he was doing those things already, but I just didn't notice. I didn't notice because I was right, gosh darn it, and I was angry with him. But when I let that go and I surrendered that, then I could see all the things that he actually does to support me. Like signing on this morning to be our tech person. He's off now, but he signed on to make sure our sound was okay so that everybody on Zoom and here could have a good experience. So those things that sometimes are easy to forget that our people around us are doing. So we're not creating giant gentleness for nothing. We're cultivating it. We're planting it. We're watering it. We're fertilizing it. So we're encouraging and spreading it. So we've taken steps, like I said, to be gentle with ourselves and hold others in gentleness and genuine now. And we're supporting the continued expansions in the work that we do in our neighborhoods and cultures, on our political areas and activism. And we are called to share and shine this gentleness in every dark corner. We take this awareness with us, this compassion, gratitude, and love to new levels and greater heights. Because life is ever evolving, as we all are. We're not the same as we were yesterday. We might think we are, but there's been something that's shifted. We've had a new experience. We've taken an extra breath. We've done something different. So there is something different in us. So now we can stand in love and hold love up as our ruler, our lodestone. And remember, there's more to life and whatever is before us than meets the eye. So we choose to breathe and act, not react. It's like, and what Nathan said too, just breathe rather than try. Because we all know what Yoda says. There is no try. There is only do or do not. Right? So let us breathe in that and expand and grow as we're calling this forth. So, there is a quote I wanted to say to you. It's by Margaret Wheatley. She said, "There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about." No greater change than a community that discovers what it cares about. So what is it that we care about? As CSL White Rock, What is the thing that is moving us and propelling us? Then maybe we say, hey, to your friends, like, you should check out, come see. We're being inspired on Sunday. We're doing different things here. It is a different way of looking at spirituality. It's practical. It's holistic. It encompasses everybody. It doesn't matter what path you're on. All are welcome. So when we're doing that, we move forward. And Sharon Salzberg said, as she's a meditation, I once had a dream in which someone asked me, why do we love people? And she answered, because they recognize us. When someone sees the truth of us, it's the most important thing that can happen to us. And then we respond with love. Right? We respond with love. So this week, I invite you to look at people and maybe see the similarities of them rather than the differences. Because where everybody that shows up in our life is a mirror for us. And there's that other saying, you spot it, you got it. Right? Again, we might resist some of those things that annoy us, but it's realizing that it is okay and know that we can stand in love and hold up love to that. And this giant gentleness is expanding and growing forth because we've called it forth. So let us move through this day in that time. So this week, again, homework, look at everyone through that eyes of gentleness, that loving kindness. How can I be more kind today? Or how can I not judge? Whatever works for you, that question to ask yourself. Even maybe it's watching the news. Maybe watch the news for 10 minutes. Because I'm one of those people that say, oh, I don't want to watch the news. It's all so negative. It's horrible. I don't want to see. But then my husband will say, do you know this is happening in the world? And I'll be like, oh, no, I guess I should watch the news. But it's looking at it from that lens, though, shifting myself that I can watch it. And maybe I can look at it and ball it all up in a ball of love and then look at it from what is mine to do. How can I make a difference? Maybe it might not be that thing that I'm seeing on the news, but maybe it's something else in my community. Maybe it's something else even within this smaller community that I can do. Who knows? Maybe it's showing up to do tech on my day off. I don't know what it's going to be, but it could be something, I know. I had to throw that in. It's all good. So you've got your homework. We're expanding ourselves into the community with the kindness, that gentle kindness, and let's take that into prayer. As we do exactly what Nathan said and breathe. So as we breathe into this life, knowing that there is one life, one love, one universal creative spark that is operating right here, right now. And it is operating in, through, and as each person here and on Zoom or listening throughout later on. Knowing that life is that capital L life and love. That love and kindness and joy, abundance, prosperity, all those God qualities are actually each of our qualities. So as we see others in that light, we're just having it reflected back to ourselves. So today I take this gentle giant of kindness and love and expand it further and further into the world. Today I claim that love is right here, right now. I claim the joy and the excitement of stepping forth into newness, into this next moment, that life is different now because I am different. So I can look at it and choose to live in that place of joy and love and gentleness. And I can be compassionate with myself and others. So I allow this compassion, and I'm so grateful for this time together, this compassion, this kindness of life. So I let it go, I let it be, and ask you to join me in saying, and so it is.